Good morning and welcome to our channel. As you can see in the background, we have a kitten on the back of the chair. So for those that are wondering why I watched the video, that she was a rescue from a gas station. We posted quite a bit of information about her. But anyways, the video is not about the kitten that looks half dead on the chair, but rather the circumstances that we're facing nationwide right now. And that includes continuum of care programs for those that need permanent supportive housing. So there's been several developments. Now this morning, they have a touch base with a few contacts we haven't had, and what we did learn is that they're planning on filing a lawsuit across about 20 states and more than 1,000 and I think three organizations nationwide signed letters to the Trump administration requesting a reconsideration of federal funds. So how that might work is we need to have a better understanding of how the funds work. So when Congress does a congressional meeting and they determine funds for all programs, whether under one administration or another, Congress makes the decision to issue those funds. They cannot be issued and then at the state level be reissued for a different purpose. In other words, so no ending giving, and so that's kind of the circumstance we face right now, is because the funds were originally issued for this program for Continuum of Care, permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, emergency vouchers, and so without that $5 billion, then marketably we're looking at about 30 days to put out anywhere from 250,000 up to 1 million people terminate their leases, terminate their funding, and put them on the street. So you might ask yourself, well, Jay, how do you know that? On what authority do you speak, sir? Well, I'm the owner of Section8Consulting.com, and right now I'm averaging about 6 calls an hour. Oh, looks like we have another Kiki. So it looks like we're going to be making a cat video more than a funding video. So if y'all want to see little mama, she is right in the corner there, nosing around, but we put a little food for her. So we're having 2-for-1 cats today, if anybody's interested. We have 2-for-1 cats. So moving back to the funding levels. So this is going to go to court, and it's going to go to the Rhode Island Supreme Court. They'll make a determination as to whether this administration can change the intent of what Congress plans, okay? And so for many people, they're already receiving nationwide notices. The easiest way to determine that's the truth would be type in housing, homeless housing, or continuum of care into Google's news, and you'll see hundreds of articles right now where they're dispensing with people terminating leases across all 50 states. And in many cities, thousands, if not tens of thousands of people are already receiving their notice to vacate. Okay. It's a rather perilous situation. I know because, I'm up for retirement January 1st, and my phone is being hit harder than it ever was during the pandemic. Just since we've been hearing this video, that phone right there is rung at least 6 times. Okay. And so I can tell you there's a nationwide panic behind this. In addition to that, there's another effect, lake effect, I'm going to call it, because so many people are being put out of housing and terminated and given notice to vacate or either being evicted because of lack of funding. The secondary effect is the homeless shelters have chimed in around the nation. A lot of them are not receiving federal funds, and many of them are closing. Namely, I was reading just an article this morning, St. Louis. Many of the housing authorities out there can no longer afford it. So there isn't an alternative leaving your housing. The federal government is explained in Scott Turner directly on HUD's website that they are no longer in the business of housing the homeless. Okay, that is their theology as far as they're concerned. They will provide temporary circumstances of TH or transitional housing. And whether you're a drug addict or not, you need treatment, and that's the new policy. So it's drug treatment first, not housing at this point. If successful through Rhode Island, and we should keep in mind the judge presiding over the case was originally, I think, put in office in consideration to Mr. Obama, but actually was considered by Obama, but then put in by Donald Trump. So there's, I guess, a 50-50 chance. I'm not a legal expert in terms of what elections and politics, how that plays out, who puts that person and judge there. So what we're facing now is a triple, quadruple circumstance where we're talking about 250,000 to 1 million people being put out in housing in 30 days. It's already played out. Many of the Continuum of Care programs, as well as public housing authorities, put people on notice that your voucher has been terminated. You got anywhere from 3 days to 30 days to vacate, unless they can, the 20 states that signed up. And let's go over those states real quick. So we'll find out here real quick. Let me pull up part of the article. Got to scroll down because it's rather wordy, but so the lawsuit's coming out of Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Kentucky, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, New Jersey, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, and Wisconsin, as well as the District of Columbia. At present, the first wave is 170,000 people will be kicked out, and their vouchers will be terminated, and that's taking effect now. Okay, so they're trying to prepare people for January 1st. Of the groups of people that there were 22 House Republicans that also agree with we should continue on with the funding and not retract it. Outside of that, there were additional 1,001 national, state, and local organizations sent a letter to Congress on Monday urging lawmakers to include direct HUD and renewal of existing COC programs. There's too many people, okay? So I'm not arguing whether or not we feel this is appropriate or not. What I'm arguing is this. Most cities are going to experience 4x homelessness very quickly. So instead of having one person at the street light, you're going to have 12 with a change cup, okay? Homeless shelters don't have the funding to take them anymore because they're not funding the homeless shelters. They're not funding nonprofits. Many of those are going to go out of business. Even if they reverse course in a year's time on this whole deal, or for some magic reason there's a new president, he decides he wants to do this, the infrastructure will be gone because all these companies that offer nonprofits, the nonprofits and homeless shelters that would offer some form of housing or program simply won't be there because they bankrupt. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Homeless shelters are claiming their number one cause, as you read the articles about the homeless shelters, is they're closing because they no longer make money. So I was right all along. This was never about serving Jesus. It was never about housing people. It was about them profiting from it and giving out donations and looking cool about it. Another thing I want to talk about homeless shelters, you do realize most of the people that stay there outside the transient center where you're allowed to come in at 6 at night and they kick you out 4 in the morning, you do realize all the people that actually allowed to stay in the shelter under their programs, they hand select. So it's not available for anybody that doesn't pass their prejudicial behaviors, okay? So only the select high-functioning homeless may remain in the shelter under the federal funds. Anybody that they feel would be in any way obstructive to them, they don't allow them, which is 99% of the homeless people out there, right? And so I have been a big advocate against homeless shelters. Look, we can run soup kitchens without the homeless shelter game. We can also house the homeless without pouring $30 million into a homeless shelter that doesn't actually get anybody housing. They allow people to stay for 30 days. They burn up federal funds. And the minute those funds are gone for that client, they kick them out the door for any reason. All the money people pour into this stuff, donations, that stuff rarely ever gets to the homeless. Instead, they take old donated food, they sell all the good clothes, and they send people out in rags, right? And so I'm completely against the homeless shelter game. Nonprofits, we talked about that. They've been given $5 billion year after year. So we have all these nonprofits, right? In these nice fancy buildings, $5 billion. And so here's my argument. It's going to be the same as the Trump administration. It's not about so much arguing we need to address homelessness. It's about people opening up limited liability companies, building their office with leather sofas, chandeliers, and sipping champagne, and then actually not actually doing anything. I mean, they're being awarded $1 million. We just did a case where a woman stole $1 million from her nonprofit in 12 months. She was cooking $100,000 a month, and she stole literally from newborns and homeless mothers. And so this is widespread. And so the federal government requires the nonprofit to go out and count how many homeless are on the street, right? And the more they can count, the more money they get. So it's turned into a game. We burned through $5 billion. We've been doing this every year, and there's little oversight. So these people are not actually serving anybody but themselves. Much of it ends up in fraud. And so I don't know that I feel bad about nonprofits. And I don't mean all nonprofits, okay? I'm talking in terms of housing, okay? The only exclusion I see is Catholic Charities. Not that I'm favorable to the Catholics, but I'm just saying Catholic Charities is the only one I've seen that's operated with any level of integrity. But I mean, and that's a true examination of it, looking at 11 different states and all nonprofits and experience it through cities like Chicago, San Francisco, Louisiana, Georgia, Texas. And so, on what authority, again, do I speak on this matter? 26 years as a consultant at the federal level. That's the authority I speak on. The same authority I spoke on when I made a video before more than 100 legal aid attorneys. On that authority that I spoke when they published 5 and 6 articles on Business Insider. On that authority I spoke when 200 to 300 law firms a year contact me to subcontract to help them navigate federal titles and codes to help their clients in court. And I fly out to San Francisco and give testimony. That's the authority I speak on. You see my point? So here we are. And we have the circumstance where we don't really have a necessary solution out there. People can go into transitional housing, but what about your dog, your cat, your property? What about the children? And so let's discuss that briefly as I had previously. Let's ask my cat here in the back. Kitty, do you believe that we should put somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 to 300,000 children on the sidewalk for January? That way we can walk downtown in Houston, Chicago, Memphis, Tennessee, and then watch 2-year-olds frozen to death on the sidewalk. Do we think that's fair play? Do you think those children had a choice? Did their mother and father make shitty choices, or they're junkies or whatever? No. So we need to, part of my opinion on this, and it won't be from a professional opinion, but a private opinion, my personal opinion. I think that President Trump, specific characters that feed information to President Trump, has poisoned the well with that. In other words, they're self-serving and in consideration, getting people to advise the president that are wealthy, that don't have any idea what it means to be poor, is a terrible idea. And so I believe that our president's been misled into believing certain things. He's a businessman, so he knows the numbers. He understands the same way I do the big scandal behind these nonprofits and these nonprofit shelters that do nothing but profits. Okay, so there's no mistake there. But I don't think that he's being told the whole story about the children, and I don't think he's been given enough options here. I think that a lot of this has been politicized, and it's damaging. I understand that the American taxpayer doesn't want to work and have to put the bill for another person. I understand that, including myself. But we should not, as a nation, we should not go home and be able to sleep at night with consideration of children dying on the street simply to serve political purpose. And so I asked the president, President Trump, to consider at minimum that we attempt to address the children, okay? Even if we got to put the parents in prison or put them in a rehab, whatever, at the very least this country can do. Otherwise, you don't deserve you do not deserve a seat at the table to even eat Turkey Day, okay? The whole point of Thanksgiving and to being thankful as a nation and to gather as family, we don't even deserve a scoop, one fork of turkey if we're going to insufferably let these children do this. Die on the sidewalk, no options for homeless shelter. So I'm saying that I'm hoping that we can find a medium ground here to at least address the children, okay, even if it's without the adults. So I'm concerned. I'm deeply concerned about this. And again, the story, as it stands here today, is addressing the 20 or more lawsuits from 20 states. So I hope this brings everybody to the table to better understand that it's no longer about putting people out in evictions. It's about the children. And we're not talking about a handful. In essence, this is going to create larger problems in our community, every community in America. If your city has 1,000 by January, if you have 1,000 people on the sidewalk, right? By January, that's 4 to 5 times more. Even if every homeless shelter was funded, there's nowhere to put all these people. We're talking about releasing up to 1 million people onto the streets. Okay, that would take the 170,000 in just Los Angeles and put it at 1 million on the street. Okay, so they won't be on Skid Row; they'll be all the way down the freeway. In the city of Houston, you're talking about magnificent numbers. We're talking about 20,000. Okay, now if we get in the game of not feeding and not trying to help in some way or another, and mind you, not all people are drug addicts and prostitutes and criminals. A lot of homeless people ended up that way because they're seniors and their partner or their husband died. Other people, their houses burned down. People got blown away by a hurricane in California. Might have went through a fire. Up north, they might have been problems with a blizzard. Who knows? A lot of circumstances, and so a lot of people can rebound. There's only about 5% of the homeless actually want to be out there with a cold beer and a crack pipe. Most of the other people trying to find a way out of that. And I do support the president in terms of one thing. Okay, I don't support the whole agenda. I never have for any president, but yeah, we can't waste $5 billion when nearly 2/3 of that gets sucked up by the nonprofit that does nothing but profit and the housing authority that eats up 98%. They'll show on their books that they don't make no money. Boy, they do. And all the companies they open, the subcon. So what you don't realize, homeless shelters will pull in investors, and those investors own the shop that sells the clothing that they get it from. See the point? So all these LLCs, all the people connected to the shelter are all businesses, and they are for profit. Where do you think they get all that pre-shit? Now you're starting to understand that when you get these cute little advertisements, please donate to McDonald's, please donate to your local shelter, don't give the homeless one cookie. It's forced indenturement through the housing authority, which would not otherwise do it. Okay, I've seen that stuff, and so I understand it. Now I'm not talking about boutique hotel shelters in a small city. We're talking about these union missions, the ones where we hang across, say we're serving Jesus, but you can't find Jesus anywhere in the building, kind of deal, where you have the inmates are running the asylum, the whole staff is pretty much homeless people. They graduate 3 people a year. That's quite a congratulatory record. You ran 30,000 people through there, and only 3 people got housing. If my company operated that, I'd be under the federal prison. I've served 22,000, and I can count on 2 hands how many times each year that I bailed. Okay, that's an average of over 600 cases a year, and only a handful lose. And you must also factor in that I'm dealing with people that are low income. They may lie, cheat, steal. Okay. Not only that, mental health issues. Some of them are simply self-centered and entitled. They believe by paying my office to provide a service for them that they somehow can indenture me and dictate when and how I do business. And then we let them go, because when you're delusional, when you're on when we offer you a life wrap and then you throw me the bird and tell me, hey, when I call at 2:00 in the morning, you best answer, then I put your ass out the door. Okay. It means you're not ready. It means you need a little bit more sidewalk time. So even I deal with it. Okay. You think part of the reason why housing authorities have crazy employees is because they go through the same shit I do at my office. I've got people literally homeless and they'll sit there and argue with me like they're the wisest person in the room, but yet they don't know shit. How'd you end up there? So the argument can be argued both ways. And that's a great example of how it can be argued politically and as a issue for our country. We all, including myself, are putting this bill. And and also we, by extension, by proxy, we're also in consideration to the homeless and their pets, and so we worry about those things. I do, at least. So let me get on the comments here. This is let me be very clear. This is supposed to be an open air conversation. I'm not here to trade blame. I don't want to argue politics with anybody in here, and we should not be assigning personal blame in the comments section. Okay, I'm bringing the topic to give you food for thought. It's not a circumstance where you need to get shitty with me. Okay. It's just so we can consider all options be considered here and see and share opinions, reasonably and respectfully, not disrespectfully. I don't want to put people out the channel. Okay. So moving on back here. Hopefully, y'all have been, for those of you that are bored by me speaking in monotone for an extended period, you may view the Kiki, my cat. She's keeping the chair warm for me. Mr. Good morning, Jay in chat. YouTube goes on to say live chat. Hello, cats. Jean, oh, good. I adore the cats. I do have people that literally watch my channel just for the crazy cats I have. Why don't we pan out and see little mama again for you guys that love pets? Because if you love pets, you've already won my heart. Let's see, this is a good old girl. She's taking a little snoozing. So little mama says hello. So there's cats everywhere. Let me remind you this morning, not only do I have cats, but I also have the messes they make. And last night I had a little fishing pole out with a toy at the end. You shake it around. Man, I made a horrible mistake. I put the cat food out on the bed, trying to keep her comfortable, right? Well, I popped that thing and no longer Jesus touched her. She was healed, man. Next thing I know, she popped like popcorn through midair, landed in the cat bowl, splashed the shit everywhere. So I woke up this morning with cat food in my back, in my skin. It was just a beautiful way to have a good night's rest. So I'm pretty tired. All right, moving on from there, Sheila. Good morning, Gwen. When will they take the cats? I don't know. I always love you guys because anytime I talk about a serious topic, y'all will wind it straight down to the cats. Will they take the cats? Will the shelter take the cats? I really do appreciate y'all in that respect, that you care that much. I think no matter who we are and what our political divides are, there's always one great thing in the room to talk about. That's the one thing that loves you, cares about you, and won't judge you. That's your animals. It's even better than your own family. So if you got a kiki, dog, bird, spider, rat, or snake, go buy it something nice for Christmas. It'll surely love you, respect you, and never talk badly about you. Okay, that's the holiday spirit. The cat, your pet, should be the first one at the dinner table because they've probably done you better than just about every human on earth. Okay, and so I do worry about those homeless people that have pets because if they lose, so the children and so the pets. I know it ain't everybody's mission in life to fix every crisis. Okay, but we can't walk through a holiday and act like the devil. We can. So this is a time of giving. And if we're going to give out, if we're going to run our credit cards all the way to the roof, right? Think about the homeless out there. And let me tell you something. Don't make it somebody else's business. You see somebody out there, the word, don't worry about dealing with the shelter, okay? They've already stolen millions from the government. Give the homeless person, if you can do it, give it to them, okay? If they're out there. And don't be a judge, okay? Maybe they go and buy $5 of crack. Maybe they go find food. That's their decision. You're doing what God's put on your heart, okay? Don't worry about what they're going to do with that money. That's not your job to judge that, okay? Just do what's on your heart. And if they go do something bad with the shit, then that's their business, okay? We're all called to do things in life, whether it's rescue a cat, help a homeless person, even the ones that don't deserve it. Okay, use good judgment here. But we as a society and a community of people throughout the U.S. as Americans, we've become so tilted and jilted behind things that oh well, it's too much for me. That's too much reality. So let me make that somebody else's problem. Somebody else will help her. Can you do the same for the children? Oh well, I see the kid. His lips are blue, but fuck it, it's not my problem today. I've got to be at Macy's for a cocktail and a $3,000 dress. So let the little bastard die. We live in a world like that now where nobody cares. It's someone else's problem. Oh, well, I'll donate $5 to Our Lady of Ripoff, Our Lady of Charities, right? And then that $5 never gets to anybody. Okay. And the homeless go in and eat a rotten meal as usual and leave. And that's the end of their day. The only ones I really trust these days is the little boutique people in the churches out here. The churches that many of you know and attend go out there and actually do what they're called to do. They don't act like thieves, like these nonprofits and a lot of these mega shelters. So those people deserve your honor and your attention. The rest, garbage. So I'm glad this is a nationwide clean out of just a waste of time, waste of the American public, and a betrayal of the trust of taxpayers between nonprofits and mega shelters to deal with homelessness, because they haven't. If they had actually served their purpose the past 100 years, we would have by largely solved most of these problems. But they've proven to be rather ineffective. They steal most of the money and wasted mismanagement. And so nothing's been solved. It's just a money pit. And so how could I disagree with our current president, Donald Trump? Even he sees that. It's just a black hole of money. And so I wish the president would consider federalizing this. That way we know where every dollar goes, where people can receive services with dignity and respect. Take it up to the state level, even the federal level. But please stop. Stop with the nonprofits and the homeless shelters. This stuff never works. It never works. 30 million in below. I looked at a director's report and the financial expenditure for a shelter. They waste glorious amounts of money. And everybody still looks like they just rolled out the ditch to stay in there. How is that even possible? And then you see the vents pull up behind the homeless shelter. And his wife comes out dipped in jewels. Now the homeless are behind the glass window, right? But when you go to the door behind the glass window and you get back there in the executive offices, in the executive building, for God's sake, we got tea makers, refreshments, donuts, everything. All the sofas are leather. Everybody's clapping in good time, and everybody's got a Gucci slippers on and a cocktail dress, and we're spending $30 million on thinking about how we're going to help the homeless. And the homeless are in the front, which you get the front of the building, it's more like the county jail. Oh, but those are the inmates there. We don't give them any of the donations. We just give them the shit that's a week old and it's frozen. And the clothes, we separate everything we can sell and benefit from. And then we give everything that's ripped, torn, and with the shit stain on it to the homeless. And then we kick them out at 4 a.m. We make them wait all day long in line. And then we put them on a yoga mat in the gym. We're serving Jesus here. The fuck you are. Hear my message, guys. You don't have to support or not support this, but we need to consider children. We need to consider that seriously. Otherwise, the heart of America is gone. This matter is very serious. Think about what I'm telling. Again, just like politics, you don't have to agree with all of it, okay? But hear me out. This holiday season, you see somebody out there in need, just go help. Don't worry about being the judge, okay? Wait for you to take the last breath and then let the real judge handle that, okay? So, in the end here, I'm going to go ahead and answer some of the live chat here. And also, I posted in below in the video, if you'd like to become the member channel, if you like my fiery nature, or if you don't like it, it's fine. I mean, you can subscribe. The main reason behind subscribing is so you get a notification for news. And if many of you are going to be facing homelessness, my office helps with that. And I won't even lie to your face. I'm not a nonprofit, okay? I'm for profit. But clearly I'm not wealthy. Anybody can see that by my scraggly cats and my dollar store shit in the background, okay? I do not appear to be the type of guy riding around in a 2026 Lincoln Continental with a gold Gucci watch. You ever catch me doing that? Just go ahead and pull out Momo's 22 and shoot me. I don't spend money like that, okay? I'm no different than any other ordinary American. I just don't do that. I've had people get ugly with me on my own channel. Look, you realize I've made close to 2,000 videos. Who do you think was paying me for that? Nobody. And you think, oh, well, this guy's just, he's dipping, he's rolling in, he's like a prostitute rolling in his own money. No, I'm not. YouTube pays between $200 and $300. You add that up, I'm being paid roughly $1/4 for every video. When you think about all of them made. So I must be here for my own purposes. Or I must be here to help. So what do you think? So anyways, moving on from there, let's get in the comments real quick. Sheila Neal, good morning. Daniel meets, hi Jay and hi Kitty. Kitty says hello, but she's taking a nap right now. She's got a spiral fracture and she's got a hearing loss because, as I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, we picked her up at Shell Station. I was there late at night getting a snack. That's what fat people do. They go to the gas station, get a Slim Jim and other trash, right? So I admit it. I'm on camera at 9:30 at night, go to get some trash. And I see a car drive by, maybe doing 30 or 45. And they slung the cat out, okay? Out the window. Well, I'm one of those people. I don't mind my own business. I like to mind all that. I mean, I'm 300 pounds. What exactly are you going to do to me? So I was going to mind the cat's business. I went out there to get her. And I took her home. She slept on my chest, and you could hear her motor going all night. She was just grateful that she's no longer in a household with a meth head, a junkie, and a piece of trash. They would do some shit like that. Ultimately, because that person that had no business owning this cat ends up half deaf with a spiral fracture. For what? Because the cat wanted to care and love somebody, and in return, they were repaid with this shit. So where does the money go when I spend? Well, about, I don't know, $1,200 over the last 4 days going to this cat right here. Okay. That's where it goes. It ain't my new iPhone, that's for sure, because I don't own one. Moving on from there. So Uber goes, how about get a job? How about you go fuck off, partner? You go get a job, bitch. Don't come in this channel, start your shit with me. So you're gone. Don't ever come back, man. I don't even want to hear your fucking mouth. You go get a job. You come in here and talk to me like a trick, I'm going to treat you like one. Daniel Meets, brutal. Help people with the maze of all the forms and questions. Can't do everything free, man. Let's see, let me read this again, brutal. He helps people with the maze of all the forms and questions. He can't do everything free. Okay. I'm just making sure you weren't putting me in check, because one thing this old boy ain't going to do is have anybody run their mouth to me in this channel. I ain't going to go that way. You want to run it, we'll bite you over. Moving on, brutal. The forms are very basic. Name. No, they're not. They're not basic like that. See, what I'm seeing is a lot of presumptive behavior here. Continuum of Care forms alone are over 30 pages. So that shows the vast level of ignorance. That'll be another one that, we need to address later on. Daniel Meets Line, thanks for all the different comments. Susan Wells, I hope they get rid of that family that lives next to me. I live on Section 8 and I'm 65 disabled. Well, there are some policies put in place, as I mentioned in the very last video, that the federal government's going to be addressing all project-based housing. So 5 separate federal agencies are going to be reviewing everybody in project-based, and they're looking for criminal activity. Hidden knowledge. Wow, what did you miss? You missed a lot. And I just gave out a door prize. I had to put somebody out the channel again, because it's better to do that than to have a coronary. Brutal truth, wait list or 15 minutes to fill out. Well, that's the only thing that's 15 minutes. Okay. Blaze, you must be from New York. You're Sharky. Well, to be honest, guys, I'm from South Louisiana. I was born and raised in a trailer park by 2 drunks. Okay. The kids out there, we were all brutal people. I'm probably the only one that ain't sitting in prison. Okay. And there were a couple of things we learned early in life. We don't take shit off people, and we're good people. We're the kind of people you can depend on, you can count on, and we always have your back. That's what South Louisiana is, if you're raised that way. Okay? That's why. I don't take, there ain't no reason to take shit off. I'm not one of them white folks that does that. Though I am a consultant at the federal level, I keep it professional. But when we de-evolve, I can get down with the best of them. Let's do it. Okay? All right, guys. So moving on from there, and yeah, that's true. A big part of being able to connect with people is being genuine. I'm not going to sit here and do hair and nails and come in monotone like every other white dude, so we can be all professional. When the reality is, I'm dealing largely with people in Section 8 and homeless people. They don't care about pretense. Pretense are for clowns. What they care about is people that connect and understand where they're coming from. Okay? And that's not going to be achieved by looking like I'm a weatherman from Eyewitness News and talking about shit I don't understand. Okay? And before I even got my career, as I mentioned in so many of my previous videos, I spent 10 years on the street. Okay? Was homeless 10 years, 16 to 24. So how do I know all this about shelters? If it isn't through my job, literally doing that 26 years, then how about the 10 on the street? I didn't just walk a mile in somebody's shoes. I walked 20 miles. So on what authority do I speak? I tell you what, guys, I'll put something up here and show you something real quick. A quick link for those of you got a link you want to look. This is the reviews from my company. That's over 400 people, 400 plus. Those reviews right there are people that I pulled out of cars, homeless shelters, nonprofits, families up to 12, camping in the woods, elderly people dying, freezing, burning up. Over 400 just alone there. That's not including Google and otherwise. So what authority do I speak on? Let that be clear. You know how many scammers I'd have to hire from India to create 400 reviews? Exactly, because they're real. I filed every case we have with HUD. That's 400 people in the last 2 years. So what authority do I speak on? Exactly. Can you say as much? So that's my point, guys. I'm out here to help people, and I've been doing it for a long time. I retired January 1st, and I'll still continue to take short calls, and I'll still do limited casework for clients that have serious cases. But I won't be doing it like I have all my career. I mean, me and my cats are getting an RV. We're going to be traveling around the country and enjoying the better part of my life, hopefully. But I mean, so I just wanted to set the record here straight, because we live in a very judgmental world, and everybody thinks they know something, but they don't. So, Father Richard, the legislative branch is where you are needed. I'd love to, but you know what's interesting? I've never been asked at the national level. I mean, I've been asked by news agencies, news reporters. I've been asked by universities. I've been asked by legal aid societies all around the nation that spoke to them. Now, the group of attorneys want my advice. It must be worth something, right? I've never been asked by Fox News or CNN. You know, they like the more bubbly version. I think probably they're just scared of my broadness, but that's what it makes me effective. Okay. Yeah, I'm rough around the edges. I get that. And the older you get, the more set you get in your ways. But look, you don't want a light touch working on your case. You need somebody that's a beast. Okay. A lot of people, whether they just got out of jail, prison, they're recovering from being a drug addict, a lot of these people had nobody else to even talk to them and deal with them. And a lot of these seniors out here had no other option either. I took cases that were basically had no value and were dealt with by social workers, case workers, and homeless shelter workers, and all failed but me. And I managed to get it. I got one guy still calls me to this day, black dude. We became friends. He was going to kill himself. I got the dude housing within 30 days. He ended up losing the house because the landlord ended up being prejudicial. I turned around and got him housing again. I'm not in this for self-interest. These are real people that nobody care about. I'm there to give them some kind of hope, because I don't want people killing themselves on this. The last experience on God's green earth would be that, hey, I'm lost, forgotten, and nobody cares. So that's the reality. And nobody has to agree or disagree. We're all called to do certain things, and let that be that. Okay. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Okay. We shared the news. We've shared some ideas and concepts. Some of you were rather ugly in live chat, and I'm going to, when I leave here, I'm going to kick your ass out the channel, because I'm not, you're not going to smack your lips to me ever. You know, people that do stuff like that, getting you a live chat and do that, they serve nobody but themselves. Okay. They don't serve anybody but themselves. They're not part of the community, anything. They're little trolls that sit there quietly on their mommy's flip phone in the basement, have achieved nothing in life, and come here and want to garnish me over helping 22,000 people over my career get housing, and somehow I should be ashamed of myself. Well, to you, my friend, I say fuck off. Okay? You can hit the road, brother. The only loser in the room is you, brother. Okay? Because when you take your last breath, you think about yourself and what you've done in this world, like we all do. I don't deserve anything when I go. I'd just be grateful that anybody even gave a damn. And so that's the message that I want to send for tomorrow, Thanksgiving. Before you have your dinner with your family, think about that person. You see somebody out there, help them. They may not have anybody. You might be their last hope. There are many people that are losing housing. During the pandemic, I had over 6 different people commit suicide before they even got to, families were calling me about that. It's a serious matter, and it's not worth a person's life. It isn't worth a child dying out there. No more politics is. So I hope you hear my very human message on that. And while it may not be pleasant and some profanities were used, we're all grown men and women here. Okay? We're all grown. Nobody's going to melt over that. We just need to face the reality. And sometimes we need to make part of the world our business. Okay? Don't leave this world being nobody. All right, guys. I've really enjoyed talking with you guys. And for those who are here for the Kiki, glad you got to be over. And my other cat, they're a big part of our channel. As you know, you can't train cats. So this is not, I didn't set this up. They're not Hollywood actors. They're not dogs. I don't give them a treat every time they pop in the video. They're their own personalities, which I very much care and love them for that. And they come to visit us. So it's almost like section8consulting.com plus cats, right? Moving on from there. Be arrogant or stupid. I agree with you, Brutal. YouTube 1970, thank you for the kikis. Thank you guys all for your emojis. I'll see a lot of different comments here. Oh, Maureen, love you dearly. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you again. Maybe we'll try a little something on Thanksgiving Day. We'll be sitting with the cats and some chicken. They love chicken. We'll grill a little chicken. Might pop by for a video for those who have questions. Otherwise, enjoy your day.